today we're going to do the much anticipated Icebox Premiere Guide. And as you can probably tell by the thumbnail, we are playing Yoru. This is the comp that I'm going to suggest. If you don't want to play this comp, then I think that you are very boring. And to be honest, I do think, even though some of you will look at me like I'm crazy, this comp is very strong on this map. And we're going to start off with all of the lineups that you will need for all of the agents. Okay, so let's start with Sova, and the first lineup here, I'm sure most of you already know, but if you don't, you come to the right-hand side of the barrier here, just outside A. This is a dart for mid. We're going to start with the defensive side. You're just going to aim at this light just here, kind of the bottom of it. You put one bounce, you go full charge, away it goes, and it lands just here in mid. Nice little dart for scanning all of mid. Again, for the defensive side over here towards A, really nothing too complex. Just, you know, pinging a dart against this wall will be absolutely fine at the start of rounds for A. If you are, you know, if they're kind of coming in, or you want to go for a retake, any dart on this will be pretty good. So anything like that, or you know, you can do it from kind of, you know, back here as well if you want to as well, you know, just something like that. Anything like that will all be fine for scanning over towards A on the defensive side. Another dart that you will be using for this comp quite a lot is coming in towards this barrel just here. So this will normally be at the start of a round. Just come to this spot and you're going to aim for this thing here. So the right-hand side of this on these, like whatever that is, you're just going to aim to the right-hand side of it, and you're going to put the right-hand charge bar just to the right-hand side of it, just like so, there in kind of the middle of it. And you're just going to do 2 charges and let that dart go. And that dart's going to land up here. And this dart is pretty good because not only does it scan out towards mid, of course, out there, it also scans in towards the first part of B as well. So this will be an important dart, as you'll see, for what we're going to do. Now, you won't often be starting over towards B, but if you do find yourself in this kind of spot, again, a good dart for B is just kind of aiming anywhere towards kind of this thing here. If you do just send a dart over towards this and it hits really anything on this, right? Like, this is just a good dart position in general. And as I said, you can just basically do that by just aiming from it from anywhere back here towards Snowman, you know, just aiming for that. Okay, moving on to the attack side, an early dart for B. You come to the left-hand side of the barrier just here, and you're going to be aiming for this little corner of that box. And what you're going to do is you're going to put the left-hand charge of the bar, basically, the left-hand side of it on, you know, on that corner just there, like so. 2 charges, 2 bounces, full charge, sorry, and just let it go like that. So full charge, 2 bounces, and let it go, and you'll get this dart just here. Very nice dart again for the early part of B. Next dart towards the B site. If you come here and you know, just come towards this yellow light just here, you're going to be aiming towards the number 2 just here, and just, you know, to the left hand side of it. So, you know, where this number 2 is, just anywhere across to the left, and then just do 2 charges, no bounces, and just send that dart just there. Pretty nice dart here for just scanning towards the B site. Nice little dart there. Okay, the next dart is for B Snowman, which I couldn't find a great lineup for, but if you do know one, just use that. But if you don't know one, like me, just do this. So you're going to come to the left-hand side of this panel, just here towards B, and you're just going to be aiming for essentially whatever this metal attachment is here, just like this corner of it just there. And if you just send it with full charge, just send it there. Of course, this will take a very long time to land, but if you can work on the timing of this, it can be very fruity indeed. And as you'll see, this dart just comes down here and lands towards this. And your Yoru, spoiler alert, will be TPing in somewhere around here as well. So it's just a nice dart for them. Very simple dart towards mid is just sending one over towards B orange here. This is really the only dart we'll need to know towards mid. Good if you can get it on the exact corner like I just did there to scan kind of all sides of it. That's quite nice. So yeah, very simple one just there. And of course, darts towards A. Also not rocket science really, you know, just sending one up here early in a round is good. Anywhere on this back wall, making sure no one's getting aggressive early. That's good for the first part of A. And then really the same sort of thing where, you know, you just want to like send a dart in this general vicinity really, whether it's landing on that itself, right? So you can ping a dart up here if you want to, and, you know, have it land on here. You can also, you know, just do less power and have it land kind of lower on the wall if you want to as well. You know, really anything towards that is going to be, you know, just a pretty good dart. So anything like this, right, will scan a decent amount of what you will want it to. Okay, now onto Yoru quickly, and just come towards this, towards B. This is for a Snowman TP, and again, you're just going to aim it towards kind of the green box just there, and again, this will end up coming down towards Snowman, as you'll see in just a second. It does take a little while to get past that wall, but you're going to end up just by the Snowman just there when all is said and done. So that's the first one over towards B. Second one in towards mid that we're going to be using for our strats is just sending one in towards orange just here. And essentially all you're going to do is just come into this corner. by Snowpile, as it's called on the map, just there. And then finally in towards A on the attack side, you can just stand kind of, you know, towards this thing, whatever this thing on the floor is, and just aim for like where, you know, these kind of two walls meet essentially on your screen. Just send that, and again, we're going to be aiming to get in this back right hand corner just there, and that should take you over towards that corner just there, being in here. And don't worry, we have a plan. Now on defense side, of course, you're mainly just going to be TPing away or rotating, but for the rotating ones, just make sure that, for instance, if you do sometimes just send a TP like this, you'll end up going up the stairs, right? So it'll come like this potentially. So just be careful that this, you know, you can be in danger, right? Like if your TP ends up here, this can be a dangerous spot, right? Like if this isn't smoked off, someone could be up here, right? Like people could be very aggressive. So just be wary that if that is the case, you know, that you might be in some trouble with that kind of fast rotating TP, potentially, right? So you might want to, for instance, you know, just aim it slightly to the left so that it ends up, you know, kind of on this side of the staircase instead, if you want to, right? That's perfectly fine. And the same is true coming across this way as well, of course, that you'll need to just make sure that, you know, your TP is getting into the right area. But this one going from A to B isn't nearly as bad, because anything back here, you know, should land, you know, towards this kind of spot just here. And then, you know, this hopefully will be relatively safe as long as you do it at the right time. Okay, for Viper, defense side first, I'm sure all of you are more than well aware of, you know, the 410 wall. That's the wall we're going to be using, guys. Yeah, just something like this. In terms of your Viper orb, there's a couple different positions we could put it. One is just going to be in here over towards B early on. There is a lineup, though, over for defending over towards B. So if you come into this corner just here, so you're just kind of under the bridge, you know, where the kind of snow meets it or whatever. What we're going to be aiming for here, if I get it up, is you're going to be using this little star here, right? And what we're going to do is, you see this star here? Imagine you were trying to create a right angle triangle between this and this. So you're just going to come up from that star ever so slightly, and just to where like it kind of creates like a right angle triangle. So something like that kind of thing, and then just jump throw, and that will be a B orb. So this is, for instance, if you're playing on A but want to help support on B, you know, this is a good way of doing it. Your orb will land just here, right? And this orb obviously will cover this for you, and also mean that, you know, the plant spot is going to be inside an orb and stuff like that. So that's the orb for you right there. Or if you are playing on B and want to get you know, your orb potentially on this to create a one-way, there's a lot of weird lineups for this. I've always just jumped and right-click throw, and that will do the job for you. I don't know why people bother with all the crazy lineups for that when it's very easy to do. Swapping on over to the attack side, though, the Viper wall that you're going to use pretty much every round as well here is just going to be coming. I like to come underneath this little line in the vent thing here, and just aim to try and, you know, hit this back corner, essentially. And your wall on the map won't quite reach all the way, but just really anything like that will still give you this little pocket here to, you know, kind of sneak through if you want to. But also, you know, cover all of that, and yeah, just anything like that will be absolutely fine for your Viper orb, the orb that you're going to throw pretty much every round. The easiest way, I think, to do it is just to come to this arrow here that's on the ground towards mid, which, you know, you can do before the barriers drop. Come to the kind of the tip of the arrow, and then just aim for, like, this little corner here, right? So this kind of, like, sticking out corner just here of this box. Just aim for that corner and just left click throw, and there you go. You'll have a nice orb there and as well in mid that will cover everything that you need it to. Okay, Killjoy, and again, the only really lineup that we'll need is the same one that I said for Viper, which is creating a little right angle triangle between those little stars just there, and again, just a jumping throw. We'll give you a nanoswarm over towards B, again, if you want to help support on B, you know, and again, just try and stop the plant and stuff like that, stop people coming in. And then finally, Harbor. You might think Harbor doesn't have any lineups, does he? Well, he will do. And this will be a bit of a spoiler for some of the stuff that we might be doing. But one is, well, one of our strats when we do a mid-split, we're either going to just push a Cascade, like so, right? And the Cascade is just going to come and land here. That's going to go with the Yoru TP just there. But if you don't like the Cascade, which I think some of you might not, you can do a Cove lineup for it as well. So what you're going to do is come to this kind of, you know, little section of the part on the floor, which is just on the left-hand side of this yellow thing right here. So the first one kind of after that. And what you're going to be aiming for is, you see this line that kind of comes down here. You can just kind of see it in the shipping container just there. You're just going to aim for this. So like, imagine if this line just carried on down to kind of where the next container starts. You're just going to put the little icon, you know, of like the right click throw just on that point right there, and then do a jump throw. And this will come and give you a Cove lineup that comes just into there. Same sort of thing is going to happen over towards Snowman as well. Now, this one is a bit more risky, but you're going to come up to this box here. And again, just follow it back to where you get this little intersection here. Now, this, hopefully, if you've taken the first part of B, this should be a pretty safe space, right? Like this hopefully should be safe enough for when you're trying to do this exec. But what you're going to do when you get to this point is you're just going to, like, either where the K kind of drops just there or where the 0 is, just come into the middle, like, of it there. You know, in between the two containers, again, little jumping throw, and that will send your cove back here towards Snowman, so that when your Yoru TP's in again, they're going to be TPing into this, or potentially faking it as well. And then finally a harbor cove here over towards A, and again, just put yourself kind of over towards the left-hand side of this thing just here, and what you're going to aim for is kind of, you see the destruction of the wall just up there, just aim for kind of the ceiling tile, kind of one above that essentially, or, you know, up and to the left of that. Just left click throw just there, and that will come and land in this corner. And again, your Yoru will TP in here and be nice and safe, and then, you know, you're going to cause chaos. And then finally, one tip over with walling towards A is, if you, I think the easiest way of doing it is just coming on top of this gen just here and kind of meeting the line where, you know, the kind of black meets the white on the right hand side here, you know, just somewhere like that, and then just have your wall kind of be going in a straight line, and, you know, doing your wall just there, and, you know, curving it around and whatever. Because this will just mean that it goes on top of, you know, the screens just here, and, you know, anyone who's kind of get ahead of this is, you know, going to be in some trouble. Okay, with that out of the way, now let's talk about some actual setups. Let's start on the defensive side here, and this is going to be our first setup, which is going to be about Yoru B aggression. And, well, this is going to be a common tactic we're going to use. Let's dive through these two first. So, Yoru, very simply, just have a TP somewhere back on B, right, that you can TP out safely to. But the idea of here, of course, is to get aggressive over towards B and, you know, try and get kills and push up. Because Yoru is the only one that can be in this kind of aggressive spot and get out reliably. So to do that, you're going to come over towards B as harbor, and this is a wall you're going to throw in quite a few different rounds, to be honest. So you're just going to come to this kind of spot just here, and you're going to throw a wall that comes across B and then goes towards mid. So, you know, anything kind of like this, right? Just cutting off both sides of B and cutting off towards mid here as well. And harbor, you're just going to be supporting from this point here as our Yoru is trying to get aggressive. You could flash through this wall if you want. You could send a fake Yoru up here as well with you. It kind of depends on exactly how you feel. Now for this, Sova is going to do the lineup from just here and send the dart over towards that wall just there. So, you know, do this lineup just here, hit that wall, and, you know, hopefully if anyone is here, our Yoru will be alerted to the fact that they are. And again, our Yoru could try a flash if they want. Now for those three, that's how they're going to play this all the time. But for our Killjoy and our Viper, it can kind of depend, right? We can go for more of a normal standard setup here on A if we want to, right? So it could look something like this with the normal wall, the Viper orb here, nano swarms on A, and you're just going to play a normal defensive round on A. But if we want to, there are different variations. For instance, we might say we want to play Retake on A instead, right? So instead, our Viper might be over towards B, and these three are actually getting very aggressive, right? And maybe even actually pushing all of the way out of B. That's a kind of second variation you can do. Or one thing you can do as well is get very aggressive in mid at the same time. So to do that, you probably want a Killjoy setup that looks something like this. Probably a alarm bot on this side instead. So normally you might put the alarm bot on this side, but for this one you might put it on the other side. End up with something, a setup kind of like that. But that allows you as Killjoy to get up here in mid as well and still be in range of your stuff. So you can essentially help join in the fight in mid. And so what that might look like is something like this, where, you know, we're pushing down mid after the Sova dart with the Killjoy. These two are pushing B at the same time, and we're getting very aggressive in this round. Okay, our second defensive setup here is this one, and this is the thing. It looks very similar, right? We've got the same harbor wall coming across B and mid, but this time we're being aggressive in mid with a Yoru TP back in kitchen. So for harbor, your job will be the same, but you probably, after throwing the wall, want to come and retreat instead. For Yoru, you're going to put down a TP just here in the back of kitchen, because that's where you're going to TP probably back to. And then you're aiming really to... The aim of this round is to get Yoru into this position just here. Because if you're in this position as a Yoru, whether it be with an AWP or just a rifle, whatever, right? And remember, the harbor wall is going to be coming across mid to start this round. So you're going to be able to hopefully get up into this position. And then once you are here and have kind of cleared this first space and you're in this position... that means that you've got mid on lockdown, right? Like, you are now owning mid because they can't come up tube without you noticing, right? They can't go past you without noticing either. So all of mid is yours when you get to this spot. This is actually a very powerful spot that I think, you know, could be utilized more. And you want to try and get a defender into this kind of area because it's a very powerful position to be, particularly if you're playing a Yoru and can easily TP away, right? Like, normally if you're playing Jet, this can still be spammed if you dash away. But when you're Yoru, I'm out. For Viper here, you're going to do the orb lineup that we talked about earlier on. So again, just creating that right angle triangle with the stars, sending out your orb just there, and then it's going to be just joining the mid fight, whether that's joining Yoru coming down tube just here, or just joining from mid and coming in this way. For Sova, you can do either this start that we've shown before, or you can do the one from here as well. Maybe it's a bit of a change up. This one is more specifically for mid, so it might be good to do as a change up. And also you'll be like more ready to actually come and aggress mid as well. You'll start further up by the barrier, so you know you can come and join the fight. If that dart does scan people and you know we're ready to push mid, you might even come and drone this as well. Try and ping them. Maybe you get a kill through the wall. All of that is a good option. And then for Killjoy, again, it's just the same setup here where it allows you to come and be aggressive in towards mid if you want to do. Again, this is going to be a good setup if you have a big ult for a retake over towards A. But again, you can play it more standard if you want to, right? It could just be the Sova and Yoru coming up here, right? And you have the Viper and the Killjoy here on A, so you still have quite a good defensive A as well if you want to as well. The different variations are all acceptable. Okay, our third setup here is going to be about Yoru aggressing over towards A. So for this, again, as Sova, you can just ping a dart over towards this back wall. For Yoru, you can just send TP over towards the back of A, and then when the barriers drop, just try and get aggressive perhaps down here and get in towards this kind of position again, because it's going to be a position for you where you can get aggressive and potentially get out to a safe position. And for Harbor here, when the barriers drop, you can just send a cascade over towards this kind of first wall just here, blocking that off just there, you know, giving your Yoru perhaps a bit of cover if needed. And, you know, if the dart hasn't scanned anyone or anything, just come and feel free to take this orb. Now for Killjoy here, you're going to be coming over towards mid. You can just do the old classic turret here, watching both kind of these positions just there. And your alarm bot, really, you have a choice if you want to. You can come and put it on B if you want to. That's perfectly fine. Or you can come and put it underneath here over towards mid as well, just to give you even more kind of info and support. Maybe hiding it behind this box can sometimes be nice, right? So just trying to hide it in between this can be a decent position to put it in. And then the same with your nano swarms, right? You can put them over towards B probably, try and stop the B plant. Maybe you save one to see if you need one for A. And then you're just going to come and help support on B, right? So in a position, you know, kind of like this or whatever, helping support your Viper. And again, here for Viper, you can just come and put your Viper orb in here or on top to create the one way if you're feeling yourself. Now, one thing to note in that setup is that if the coast is clear and you haven't seen anything over towards A, your Sova can then drift back towards mid and kind of, you know, keep an eye on if anyone is lurking down towards A just here. Setup number 4 is actually very similar. We still have the same 3 people over towards A. This time it's just more passive though, right? So you can still do the same Sova dart, but this time we're just playing it a bit more normally, a bit more passive. We're not looking to get super aggressive necessarily. And in fact, we got the TP across the map here from Yoru over towards B in case we need that quick retake. You can do a similar sort of setup for Killjoy if you want to. Again, the Sova can drift towards mid if the coast seems to be clear over towards A. And this time we're just kind of playing a more normal round. And then finally, we have a kind of strong side B setup, but again, pretty normal stuff. The Sova and the Viper over here towards A. Again, sending the early Sova dart out, perhaps the same Killjoy setup you can have just there with nano swarms, and again, the Viper orb with the lineup coming and landing in this spot just here. And you've got your Harbor and Yoru, you know, maybe your Yoru is playing, you know, back here towards yellow if needed. Again, with a TP back coming over towards A for fast rotates. So first off, just some general strategy tips of what I would say for those different setups is I would start using some of the aggressive setups early in the half, right? Really condition them to think that that Harbor wall going across B and mid is a threat not only to B, but also to mid, right? And they have to be very aware of what's going on and make them scared of that kind of setup, right? And get your Yoru early in the round into positions where, you know, it is aggressive and you're TPing back out, right? Just to scare them and make them check everything for the rest of the half. I think it's good early in the half to be aggressive and show that you are going to do that kind of stuff and use your Yoru to the capabilities the best that you can. With that said, let's talk about rotations and retakes as well. So the thing is, of course, with rotations, one thing that you have to be careful of is not to over-rotate with someone's rotating and your Yoru is going to TP across, right? So just make sure that the communication is correct of knowing like, hey, our Yoru is the one that's rotating across, you know, so I don't need to because our Yoru is already there. right? That's one thing you'll need to keep in mind for this team comp. And of course, just be careful about the window as well, right? Sometimes they could be up here, they could be, you know, pick you off potentially. Just be a bit careful of this. One way you can kind of mitigate the window somewhat is to run, you know, as close to this as you can, you know, and maybe just take a quick little peek to see if someone's in the window, rather than, you know, running back here and being open to the window and maybe taking a gunfight you don't want to be in. And then a quick note on retakes as well, of course, is Harbor's importance for these retakes, right? Because you can just really, you know, just flood the whole thing out, right? I mean, you can really just create absolute chaos, and obviously the Cove is going to be good for retaking in general. So if your Harbor is still alive and has utility up, which is what you'll want to do for these retakes, you know, just wait for your Harbor there. And you also have some really big ults for retakes as well, right? Yoru ult, Harbor ult, Killjoy ult, all really good for retakes in general. So, you know, save those ults up. You can afford to play retake, I think, with this comp quite a lot, because there is just a lot of ways to do it. And then last thing, I'll just show you some quick ults here to use. Obviously, I mean, Viper's Pits, common ones that you're going to use. You know, something like this is perfectly fine, right? Coming here on top of 410, you can do the same thing from this as well, right? Down here, this is a pretty good ult as well, right? Just looking down on people, killing them from down there, all pretty good stuff. And also over towards B, oh, you can also do you know, the classic scary ult from up here as well, to try and stop the plants on A, right? Try and, you know, just make them come into this. Again, a nice little position, playing nice and safe. And then the same thing is true over towards B if you wanted to as well, you know, just like a quick one around the corner again, just make sure that planting the spike is very difficult for them. And then lastly, Killjoy ults. Obviously, this one is going to become very standard. I assume you will probably use that. If you feel like this will get broken and you don't want to use that, to be honest, the one out here that's less likely to be broken is also pretty good, right? It will still push them all the way back off pipes and stuff and still get you the whole site. So if people are good at destroying them, or you're playing a team who you feel like they know what they're doing, you know, one back here is also perfectly good and, you know, will be pretty useful. And over towards B, I mean, if you wanted to, you know, if you want to go for a safe one, obviously something like this will be pretty safe, but still give them a bit of space to play around. So if you can, and you feel like you can, you know, secure this, you know, putting one, for instance, you know, anywhere back here behind this kind of wall is also pretty useful, right? That will mean that this gap is pretty small to play in, and, you know, you can obviously just molly that with nano swarms, with Viper mollies, with Sova shock dots, all that, all pretty useful stuff. Okay, now let's move on to the attack side, and let's start with some defaults. So here is our A default. This is what we're going to do. Now, your Viper setup is pretty much going to be the same for pretty much every single round. So, you know, just do the lineups that I showed you earlier in the video. And let's talk about our A default, though. So we got Sova, Yoru, and Harbor over towards A. So for Sova, very simple. You're just going to ping a dart against that wall, like we said, and just scan that early part. Now, if you want to, and you feel like they are being very aggressive, you know, you can come and drone as well if you feel like that is necessary from anywhere back here, right? If you feel like you really are being pushed here and want to, you know, really make sure that that isn't the case, that's perfectly fine. For Harbor, you're going to push a cascade here over towards pipes. Now, this is going to be a very important point of all of this, but what this wall means, if it stops anywhere kind of towards this, is it just means that anyone being aggressive over towards pipes, whether it's this position just here, or whether it's on the gen, or whatever, they aren't going to be able to see you coming out, right? So use that cascade and use it to take up this first bit of space, right? Get to this position out here and use that cascade well. Now, Yoru, you don't have to do anything in particular that's special, but if you want to, and potentially if you're going faster towards it, you can do something like this, where if you just aim towards kind of this position just here, you can send a flash and it'll go through this and just like end up, you know, kind of in this position just here, right? So anyone who's kind of, you know, looking out this way, you know, looking towards that, will just get blinded from on top of there, which is quite nice. But you don't have to do that. Again, if you, like, the Sova dart scans 3 people getting really aggressive, but you want to fight this out, one thing that you can do is send a TP just in here, right? And you can either do the TP or you can fake it, right? And again, it's just going to make it difficult for people, you know, who are being really aggressive, that now, you know, they need to look here, but they also need to look here, right? That's pretty difficult. For Killjoy, you can just come and put a turret watching out towards mid, just there, anything like so. And for yourself, you know, the Viper wall is going to be on B. I would just put, when the barriers drop, just an alarm bot, you know, somewhere around this corner, you know, wherever that may be, somewhere like that. And then just come and hold in towards B as well if you want to, right? So this way, both sides of B are kind of secure, and you got the turret watching mid. And for Viper in general, you kind of have a bit of a free roll if you want to, right? You could decide to come and lurk in towards mid if you wanted to. You could decide to join up with the Killjoy and you two try and you know, maybe sneak up towards B if you want to as well, if you feel like that's pretty weak. Potentially, if, you know, these guys are seeing like 3 players push them or whatever, right, you might want to take that decision to take some early space towards B if you want to. You could come and join them over towards A as well. With the Viper, you kind of have a more free role to kind of just choose what you want to do. One thing that I will say about Viper in general is just to put your abilities up early and just keep cycling them up and down. Right, because for instance, when you put this wall up, it just means that you could have sneaked around here, right? And the same thing is true with the orb, right? That when you put the orb up, even if it's just for a second or two, it just makes them wonder, right? Like, you just put this up for a second or two, whether you're doing this or not, right? Just putting it up and then putting it down and putting it up and putting it down, like, that's pretty good on Icebox for where these abilities are, because it's just going to make them think, this is a possibility, this is a possibility, and you can benefit from that. Okay, for our B default, we can do this Sova dart, and again, it's going to be Harbor, Sova, and Yoru going together. Again, the Viper will have a bit of a free role, and the Killjoy will be watching in towards mid and A. So for Sova here, you essentially have 2 options. You can either do the dart that I showed in the lineups early on, something like this, or you can choose to kind of drone from this position as well. Either is perfectly fine, and you can mix it up as well, you know, to just, you know, people might be expecting that dart, but instead you decide to drone, right, and you just do this instead. Like, either of those is perfectly fine. For Harbor and Yoru here, there's not necessarily something that you have to do, right, because again, this Viper wall will be coming across here, right, so you have to think like, okay, the wall is coming across, that's gonna, you know, help us. If you want to, you know, you can just sneak up to this point if you want. Again, if your Sova, dart, or drone sees a lot of people, you might decide, you know, to push a cascade out or something and, you know, flood in behind it, right? Something like this, if you want to, but it might not be necessary. Now for Killjoy here, you can place an alarm bot like this in mid if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, particularly if your Viper is, you know, decided to go towards mid, and just come and put a turret out something like this. Again, you know, just watching out here towards A. Is anyone being aggressive? And then in terms of the position that you play, you kind of have a choice, right? You can choose if you want to kind of just watch if someone is going to be aggressive down here if you want to, right? Because the turret should go off and alert you of anyone that's about to come this way if you want to. You can just chill and just, you know, just sit back all the way in spawn if you want to, right? Really, anything is up to you. You know, you can come and fight mid if you want to as well. All is perfectly fine. Okay, now let's talk about our exec, which might look something like this. So again, for Killjoy, you might have a turret set up from here earlier in the round. If you were defaulting towards B and you've come back towards A, you might pick up your alarm button, right? You might just come and put it in a position like this. If you want to, that's perfectly fine. And then I would normally say that probably your Sova, Harbor, and Yoru are going to end up on the left-hand side here. So if you're the Killjoy and you're coming to join this exec, you're the one that might want to come on top of here, right? And come to this right-hand side instead. For Sova, very simple. I mean, again, you can just wait till you get your arrow, ping an arrow back over towards really anywhere on this wall is perfectly fine. And if you want to as well, you know, you can go and drone as well as the kind of exec is going on. So you can dart, and then if you still have your drone, you can then drone in and obviously clear everything you want to clear. For Harbor here, as I kind of said in the lineup earlier on, you know, you can do this lineup, and then again, you don't have to be on this box. You can just do something like this. And again, you don't have to get too crazy with the wall. Something like this will suffice, and so you'll end up with something like this. You know, just try and hit the wall there. You can, if you want to, do a wall, you know, coming all the way across rafters. If that's what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. It is a bit harder to do, so if you're not a master at Harbor, the wall that I just did, you know, should suffice. And then for Yoru, you're going to do this TP, right? So you're going to send your TP back here, and here's the thing. You can choose to do your TP and TP back here with the cove if you want to, but you don't have to. Right, this could be a fake. The point is that with the cove there, you know, what defender plays here? Right, who's playing here as a defender? It's not a good position to be in as a defender. The cove is going to land there, and they're either going to shoot it and reveal where they are, and in which case, if you have TP'd and they start shooting it, right, you could send a fake flown out, you can flash through your cove, right? If you are flashing, by the way, and you do TP here, one quick note is, you know, don't flash kind of, you know, just out here like that, because obviously that's going to blind your teammates as they're coming in. So if you do want to flash like that, just try and, like, you know, just think to aim for this, right, and flash like that instead, because a flash that lands, like, you know, here won't be blinding them, right? Or obviously just flash kind of out this way, right? So that's the flash that you want to do. The thing is, you can fake it, you can go for it, it's really up to you. There is no correct answer with kind of doing it, and that's the beauty of this, right? You can send in the fake this way if you want to, and fake the TP and just come in normally and have your opponent stare at, you know, the back of the site for no reason. All of that is perfectly fine, it's up to you. And then again, for Viper here, really, you have a choice, right? If you want to lurk in towards mid, maybe you even want to, you know, if you feel like, oh, it might go wrong, let's go towards B instead, you might start lurking towards B. You might, you know, lurk towards mid. You might come and join them in A. Again, it's kind of up to you in terms of what exactly you want to do. There really isn't a right answer. Okay, now let's talk about our B exec, and there's two kinds of B exec I'm going to teach you about. The first one is more of a close B exec, just taking the site. Okay, so for the B exec, of course, we're pretending we've kind of taken the first space of B main here. Of course, before we go for any B exec, we're going to have to, right? So we can either, again, we've got choices in terms of the TPs we want to send out as Yoru. Again, you can mix and match this stuff a lot in this comp. You can send one out to Snowman. Now, for this exec, you're not going to be going all the way back to Snowman. This would just be a fake, right? You can also just very simply send one towards this kind of corner here, right? Which, again, isn't very hard to do. You know, a lot of TPs will just end up in that corner naturally anyway, and you can just use that as a fake if you want to. Or if you want to as well, you can, but this does require, you know, some timing to TP across here to yellow, right? Obviously, you don't want to go too far, so you need to make sure that you're doing it kind of, you know, when you're in the middle here, and this can be, you know, somewhat difficult to time, particularly if you're going to do it with a flash. What I would recommend is doing it from further away, right? Giving you time to pull out your flash, go for the flash, and then TP, right? Rather than doing it from close, because you won't have time to get the flash out and do all the animations and stuff like that. But so over here, you're going to have the simple task of, again, just sending this dart out this way. Again, just aiming towards the two there, two charges, off it goes. It'll land just here. Scan, you know, all of back yellow can be good, especially with the Yoru TP flash across here, sending that dart in, you know, killing anyone over towards yellow. It will also start to scan, you know, people over towards this way as well. So it can be very useful. If you still have your drone, right, you could drone from this position, you could drone from this position if you think, you know, you cleared yellow at this point, you know, and just get very deep. If you still have it, you might have used it to clear B, but if you do still have it, you know, clearing all of this is also pretty good. For Harbor here, you're going to come and put yourself in the corner by this box, and you're just going to aim to do the wall across this and then across those as well. So just anything kind of, you know, like that. It doesn't even really have to be perfect, right? Like, even that, which wasn't perfect by me, it still covers everything you need it to cover, right? It's not the hardest wall to do in the world, but you might want to practice it if you don't play Harbor a lot. For Killjoy here, again, it will depend on exactly what setup you've gone for. Maybe you started defaulting over towards A and you put a turret out like so, right? And put an alarm bot in mid. If that's the case, then you can leave these, right? And until you get to this spot, and then maybe at this point, you know, you might recall your turret there and then just, you know, kind of wait to put it behind you if you want to, right? Like, all of that is perfectly fine if that's what you want to go for. But yeah, your job is just to, you know, watch the flank, chill in, join in, the help support the team, the spike goes down, put nanoswarms on it, or your classic Icebox stuff. And the same is true for Viper as well, again, right, where you might be lurking in mid, you know, you might come with the team in B. It's really kind of up to you at that point. Your Killjoy might even lurk mid with you, right? You could even have two people push up mid if that's what you want to do. All is perfectly fine. Okay, and then our Snowman Exec. So this time we're pushing very deep on B. And again, for Viper and Killjoy, it's the same stuff. You guys can lurk in mid if you want to. You guys can come and join the Exec if you want to. You know, you can go 1-1. Again, completely up to you in terms of how you want to do it. Probably mix it up in terms of how you should be doing it. So for Yoru, again, the lineup will come from this point just here, and you'll just send it there. And you will have some time whilst the lineup is kind of going there. Again, you'll need to kind of time this with Sova. This is the one exec that you might want to work on the timing somewhat of. But you could send a fake Yoru clone across if you wanted to as well, right? The Viper wall can be going up, and you could be faking like, you know, oh, we're only just taking the site. But then you're going to TP back to Snowman, and the dart will land, and you'll be inside a cove. And again, if you didn't use your Yoru clone, you know, you can use it here. And then, you know, you're just going to scale back, essentially, and you should be able to see your teammates, right? Your teammates should be coming out of here by the time that you've kind of TP'd in, and, you know, now you're running out of the cove. You should be able to see your teammates there and be able to see, you know, each other, and hopefully creating a lot of pressure to, you know, deal with, you know, whoever is out here on B. Just be careful that when you have TP'd in here, that obviously the harbor will be going across like so. Just be careful that, you know, as you're running back towards the site and trying to clear this, that someone doesn't come this way. That's why it can be useful to send your Yoru clone this way as well, right? Just to distract anyone that's in there, or certainly give you the information that someone might be in there. So for Sova, you're pretty much going to be standing right next to Yoru in this spot just here, and again, doing this lineup up here by the kind of connecting point just there, and sending a full one off, right? And the thing is, that dart will give you time that if you haven't used your drone yet, you know, coming and droning out here towards B and just getting some early info on where people are, you know, you'll have time to do that, right? And now the dart just landed after I've done my drone, and now I'm scaling in. So that's how you can create some pressure with this kind of exec. Now for Harbor, of course, you need to come and find your lineup spot, which is just here. And getting here, again, you might need a cascade. If you have to send a cascade, that's perfectly fine to get up into this spot. You know, all is fine, right? And coming and clearing out the first part of B. But get onto your mark just here and get ready to send the cove out. So away goes the cove, and then you'll want to get up into this position just kind of like this, and you can just send a straight wall across, right? All is perfectly fine. Your cove will land back there, and then as I said, now you just want to like go for it, right? Your Yoru will be creating pressure, you'll be creating pressure, and away you go. Now one thing that I must say about this again is this doesn't have to be a real Yoru TP. Right, this again can be just a fake, and you can run that to run like a big massive fake if you want, and really you're going back towards A, or you can just run that as like they're gonna turn around and be facing their own spawn, you know, as we're coming and doing a B exec and everyone's actually here instead, right? Either is perfectly fine, and if you just mix it up, it's gonna be really hard for your opponents to know exactly what to deal with and how to deal with it. And then finally we have our B split, which well, it's a mid split on Icebox, so don't do it a ton, but I think this is a fun round that if you are dominating, it'll be fun to do. So our B split then. First thing, Harbor. You're going to do the lineup that I showed at the start of the video for our B split just on this point here, throwing up the cove just there, and then the Viper wall and maybe your Sova should be droning, and you're just going to come and get into this position here again if you can on B, and then you're just going to wait for your Yoru to start to come around this corner and then send up this wall, right? So again, it's the same sort of wall just across here. Again, just blocking off the grate just there. And hopefully your Yoru can get past this and into this position just here. And then, you know, this wall is basically protecting them from anyone, you know, seeing them from behind, essentially. And from there, just make your way on over to the site. This could be a good exec to do with a Harbor ult as well. So, you know, if you want to, as you're running in this way, you can Harbor ult it and then, you know, go for the wall. That's also a perfectly good choice as well. But so over here, very simple. You're just going to start the round, dart as quick as you can, and then sprint over towards B just in here and get ready to drone. And you're just going to drone. And really, we only need to drone the first part of B just to help our Harbor get into position there to do the wall, and just coming and checking this first part of B like so. And then again, like as your Yoru is scaling in, you know, you're scaling in as well. The Harbor wall's going up. You're ready to fight. You're ready to, you know, do some damage, you know, checking yellow, all of that. Maybe even doing it with a Harbor ult, creating chaos, getting in there. Okay, Yoru for you, pretty simple. You're just going to send your TP that way. I would also send the fake footsteps in here as well, right? Just make it seem like a lot is going on. Obviously, TP when the cove lands, you TP in, you see what's going on. And then from here, again, the dart will land, right? So you'll have the dart there, and you'll be able to see what's going on. And if there is anyone close, obviously, you know, you can flash them at this point and come in and try and kill them. If you didn't send out your fake Yoru clone, again, you can choose to do that kind of afterwards and, you know, send in something like this. And again, the wall will come up. If it comes up just too early, you can always, you know, flash through it instead if you want to, right? That's perfectly fine and run in. If not, then you can just, you know, start scaling in. Harbor ult comes in and away we go. For Viper, it's going to be very simple. You're going to throw down your orb just there, and then you're going to put both of them up, right? Because we don't need the fuel for long. We only really need it, you know, for a bit of time. So just put both of them up. Again, Harbor coming in here, and, you know, when they both go off, you're just going to join in this attack on the kind of B main side, and just, again, getting in there. Now for Killjoy, you're going to have an interesting job. I'm going to suggest putting the turret this way just to check for anyone coming on the big flank from A, but you're actually going to go mid, right? So you're going to come here. The orb is going to come up. There's going to be a lot going on, and you're just going to try and cross into this position if you can. Now, if you can place an alarm bot there, that's what you want to do, and you're just going to chill in here, right? And the point is, if someone does try to kind of reflank your Yoru there, the alarm bot's going to go off, and you're going to go and kill them, right? If no one does come there, you know, after a bit of time has passed, then you might want to try and, you know, start lurking up mid. And so those are our execs and defaults just there, but one massive tip that I have to give you that I've kind of been saying throughout is you don't have to be real with everything that you do with this comp. You can run massive fakes with this comp if you want to, right? Like, you can have your Yoru TP from here with Snowman. You know, if you want to, you can learn cross the map Sova dots if you want to and have your Sova dot from here. Literally, you could run this B fake exec going towards Snowman right here, and it literally could just be the Harbor that's over towards B. Literally, everyone else could be on the other side of the map. And you can run this almost exactly the same as you would if everyone was there and this was a real exec, right? And that's the thing with this comp. And you must do that. right? You must make it seem like sometimes this is real, sometimes this is complete nonsense, right? And the thing is, doing this and getting to this point, it's going to create so much pressure to then when, oh yeah, we're actually just coming in on A, right? And you can run one into the other, right? You could run the fake here over towards A if you wanted to, right? Like you could run with these 3 agents, you know, come to this point, get to this point, fake the TP, you know, your Viper or Killjoy lurks up on B and says, hey, there's not much here on B, and you guys just run back this way instead. Right, that is a perfectly good way to play Icebox, right? And that's a successful way of playing Icebox. Is if you don't like it for whatever reason, there's 3, maybe even 4 people there, you think, just run to the other side of the map. It works on Icebox. It just does, right? And with this comp in particular, you can make it seem like you are going to one side, and in reality, you're just sneaking up the other side the entire time. And so I implore you to do that. Now, normally I would say start with the real stuff early on, right? So that they get a taste of like what it actually looks like for real. And then later on in the half, start doing some of the fakes. Okay, and then finally, Postplants and Ults. Now, Postplants on Icebox, as I'm sure you're all aware, are a beast in and of themselves, right? They are not a fun time to be had, really, by anyone. If you want to learn Postplant lineups, do that on your own time, right? One thing I would say is with Yoru in particular, you know, what you can do is you can, you know, be aggressive and get into these aggressive angles again for the Postplant and then TP back to safety. Obviously, everyone knows that, you know, everyone loves to play Postplant from super deep positions, and it works pretty well on Icebox, so you should probably do it too. But your Yoru can be a way of like, you know, oh, you actually have to use utility to take the first part of the site, but then I'm actually just gonna, you know, TP back to everyone else as well. So, you know, you're gonna have to clear me out first, and then I'm gonna TP out, and now you don't have any utility left, and now we can kill you. And then finally with ults, again, it's pretty simple here for a lot of it, but the thing is, again, we have some very good fake tools, right? We have some great ways of taking the site with Yoru, Harbor, Killjoy ult. And we have some great ways of faking as well, right? Like, we might create a lot of pressure with just a Harbor and a Yoru ult, like, in like this. You know, this is creating a ton of pressure, and then the last second I TP across here, and actually we're going over towards B, right? With the Viper wall instead, and we're planting on B. Those kind of things can work, right? Very, very well. And whether that's with a Harbor ult, Killjoy lockdown, Yoru ult, it all is going to be very difficult for your opponents to guess what's going on. So there it is, an Icebox Premier Guide, hopefully with some fun ideas in there, playing Yoru as well. So go and just make your opponent's life a misery by just showing them so many different things and whether things are real or not, and make them question their own reality in general.